At this time, I'm happy to present to you Sabrina Davis with her speech entitled Future Canadian American.
Mr. Toastmaster, oh, where are the wheels?
It's broken.
Oh. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters.
Where did you want to put it?
I'm okay. This is good. Thank you. I want to ask you a question. So, I'm going to ask you, it's a question that you may or may not know. Who is in charge of the executive branch?
The president.
President.
The president. This is one of the questions that is part of the test that I will have to take when I pursue American citizenship. There's a list of 100 questions that you have to study for, and they will ask you 20 questions, and I believe you have to get 80%, 80% I think is what you have to get to pass the test. So I want to tell you today why I'm pursuing American citizenship, and I also want to tell you that there is a part of me that does not want to become an American citizen. So just to tell you a little bit about myself, I am Canadian. I've lived in America for 3 years. I came to America, of course, to marry my husband, Jerry, who's an American, born and raised in Upland. I was born and raised in Canada, but my parents immigrated from Fiji to Canada in 1972. And it's funny because we have a lot of family in Fiji. Half of them went to Australia and half of them went to Canada. And I'm like, Mom, why don't you go to Australia? Like, it's nice and warm there, but that's fine. Here I am. So when immigrants refer to themselves, they usually refer to themselves with the first country first. So people reference themselves as African American or Mexican American or Asian American. So I think that that's very, very telling because, as you guys know very well, Americans have a very strong sense of loyalty and patriotism to your country, which is great. And that's something that I definitely appreciate about America. But what I think people don't think about is why wouldn't immigrants have that same loyalty and patriotism to their home country? So just because they want to reference themselves as an African American or a Mexican American, or in my case, a Canadian American, it doesn't make them bad Americans. And it just, in fact, makes them just as patriotic as any person who is born in America, except they just happen to be born elsewhere. So why would someone who's loyal and patriotic to another country choose to become an American citizen? I truly believe in the goodness of America, and I will have pride in becoming an American as well. That's definitely a piece of America that I appreciate. That's what I appreciate about Americans, is their loyalty and patriotism. But I also need to understand, one of the reasons why is I need to understand what happens in the country, that I have a say in what happens in this country. I can't live in this country and not have the right to vote. Because if you don't vote currently and you are an American citizen, you don't have the right to bitch and moan. That's the way I look at it. So I'm prepared to bitch and moan, but I'm prepared to vote as well. So the other reason, and I hate to say this, but honestly, in this day and age, becoming an American citizen will be a protection against potential persecution. So, and I say that in a society, and this happens, I know, I'm very much like an American, but have you ever been sitting on the Metrolink and sheriffs are walking through, or immigration officers are walking through and asking you for your ID? That's not a fun thing to have happen to you. So for me, becoming an American citizen will offer me that protection. Nobody can ask me if I belong in this country or not. Nobody can question it. And unfortunately, at this point, because I'm not an American, I do not have the same rights as Americans. That's the truth. There's a lot of good things about America, as with any country, including my country, my home country, Canada, but there are some bad things about America. So here are some of the things that I find weird or odd. So we do this every meeting. We stand up and we say the pledge. Non-Americans or Canadians definitely do not get the pledge. We don't understand it. It's very cult-like when everybody stand up and saying the same words. It's like, it's a very uncommon thing. We never had that in school growing up. We never did that. And it's very odd and uncomfortable. And that will be the one, once I become an American citizen, as much pride as I will have in being an American, that's the one place that I will struggle. Putting my hand on my heart and saying that pledge, because it's very weird to me. There's the healthcare system that is very profit driven. I cannot tell you how much I've had to dealing with Jerry's medical issues, dealing with paperwork, and using health advocates, and making sure that he's getting the best care, and not understand now we have a doctor, we don't like what this doctor says, so we have to go pursue a different medical opinion. Like, it's just the amount of time I've had to spending going through my paperwork for my medical care. Imagine everybody having to do that in this country, how much wasted time you've had, when in Canada I just handed over my card and that's it. I never saw another piece of paper. I never had to be in the ER and have to sign my release saying that, you know, I free them of any obligations or any wrongdoing. Like, that's very, very disturbing to me. And then I really think there's an opportunity in America to set I don't think that America sets our citizens up for success. In the education system, where it costs so much for education, I feel like the nutrition in this country is very poor. The processed foods, what we're putting into our bodies, and the people that are regulating those foods, I feel like there's a big opportunity. And I feel like there's an issue with the class system. There's, you know, a huge disparity between the rich and the poor. And how do you go from poor to rich? It's a very hard thing to achieve, especially when you have to come out of school with a couple $100,000 in debt to have an education. Like, all of those things weigh on me because they're part of American society. But what I'm trying to say is that the point is, whether American, Asian, Canadian, Mexican, we're all humans. And I think, especially in this political environment, I think we forget that. And immigrants aren't bad people. There are many great things about America. And I'm just getting shivers just saying that, because I really believe it. I want to vote, and I want to be protected. But I don't think we should sit on our high horse about our countries. No country is perfect, including Canada. We have many issues as well. But when racists and bigots sit in judgment, they forget that we're truly all immigrants, which is proven by Ancestry.com. Just take a test. And I'm an immigrant, and I'm proud of it, and I'm confident enough to say that this future Canadian American will be an asset to this country. Mr. Toastmaster.
Good, thank you.